Well, again, welcome to the second in my series of D&D. I don't know what you call them, videos. Yeah. Um, I had intended to do one on player character development, and coincidentally, we started a new uh, gaming group this past Tuesday. And so it was apropos because we had people creating new characters, and the question came up is, what characters should we create? So I'm going to talk about two things. The first is generally what kind of characters should you create, and then the second one is I'm going to talk specifically about optimizing characters. So whenever I have new people join, and they're like, well, what kind of characters should I create? What's needed? Fifth edition has done a interesting thing in that you no longer need the traditional party roles rigidly filled. With the fact that you never go to negative hit points, that you stop at 0. Any character with a potion of healing, which is a common magic item, can bring an unconscious character up to 4 or 5 hit points. And really, there's not going to be a huge difference between a character with 4 or 5 hit points in combat than a character with 20 hit points in combat, which is what a big third or fourth level Cure Light Wounds is going to cast, unless you have a character specifically built to make a big heal, like a high level cleric who can cast heal, or a life cleric. So it's good to have that in a party, right? It's good to have a life cleric in particular. Their channel divinity I have seen swing nearly TPKs around, but it's not necessary. If everyone is effectively built and the DM has a reasonable encounter, you don't need a dedicated healer. So I always tell people in 5th edition, you should play what is interesting to you. And if there is a character concept that you have been toying with, maybe something based on a character from a work of fiction, which is a really good thing for new players, right? I want to play Legolas, or I want to play Dritz, whoever. Then that's a good thing to do. That's really good. It can really draw a new player into the game, and can make for a memorable character right off the bat. So that's always my first recommendation to a new player, is think about a character that you enjoyed in fiction, in a book you read or a movie you saw, and create Elsa or whoever. Then as if it's a more experienced player, I will say, if there's a character concept that you've been playing around with, I want to do like a tavern brawler, or something like that. And 5th edition is very, very good for that. Very, very good for that. Then we get into the questions about optimization, and that is going to depend a lot on your campaign. If the campaign you're in, if the DM is allowing feats and multi-classing, those can really twink out a character. Just for example, 1 level dip into sorcerer, into wild magic sorcerer, gives you advantage on any d20 roll you want that will recharge if the DM wants to when you cast a first level spell. But more importantly and more consistently, it gives you the shield spell +5 to AC, It gives you an owl familiar, which can grant you advantage with a flyby help on your first attack each round. So 1 level dip into sorcerer is huge, for any melee class. Anyone who's going to be standing up front. Say, you +5 to your AC and advantage on your first attack. Who doesn't take? If you're going to be a frontline fighter, that's not raging because you can't cast shield. 1 level dip into sorcerer is just almost. You can do it with wizard as well, but the reason I say sorcerer is because if you're going to be a frontline fighter, 2 levels of paladin gives you a +1 to AC with the defensive fighting style, and the smite, which is a huge thing for a frontline fighter to be able to add 2d8 of radiant damage on any attack you hit with. But those both require multi-classing, and I'm beginning to hear that because multi-classing is so ripe for power gaming that some DMs are foregoing it. So in that case, if you don't have the ability to multi-class, then you have to do other things. So I'm going to talk about in general. Then I'll come back to some ideas on what you can do if you can multi-class and take feats. You have in a round, you have this thing called the action economy. Action economy for a character is the number of things it can do in a round. Okay? So a typical action economy is going to be an action and a move. Right? That's like the most basic things. Like I take an action and I move. And that action may be an attack or use the help action, cast a spell. Then if you start optimizing, you start looking at the other possible things you can do. And at the first layer is the bonus action. So the first thing you want if you're trying to build an optimized character is you want something that will use that bonus action. Otherwise it's a wasted resource. There are several spells, particularly on the cleric list, that can use that bonus action. Healing word, and I people like cure wounds. I am a huge proponent of healing word instead. It's a bonus action. It can be done at range. And like I said earlier, if you're casting it at first level, the difference between a D4 healing and a D8 healing is not going to be significant. You're still getting someone who's unconscious up to conscious. That's the point of the first level cure wounds. Once you're past about 3rd level, and the healing word that achieves that function much more efficiently. Cleric also has spiritual weapon, which gives them an attack as a bonus action. Cleric has built-in spells for that. If you are creative, the unseen servant can also be used. Giving it a direction is a bonus action, and it will continue to follow those directions. So if you're an arcane caster, sorcerer, or wizard, you could bring in an unseen servant. The thing about unseen servant too is it's a ritual spell, so you could use it without actually consuming a spell slot if you're a wizard. I like unseen servant a lot. There is technically, if you read the spell description, it can use the help action. It can do anything a human servant can do, except it can't make an attack. But it could use a help action. But if you do that, you may get some pushback from a DM. It's pretty far out there on the Munchkin edge. But I've never seen any DM who had issues with an unseen servant administering healing potions to unconscious players. And so usually, if I have an unseen servant, that's its instructions. If anybody goes unconscious, administer a healing potion. So it's good to use action economy. Bards have their inspiration, which they can grant as a bonus action. Rogues have built-in bonus actions with their cunning actions. Paladins have a few spells that they can cast. Divine Favor in particular, I'm a big fan of. I don't know why more people don't use it. Right, you're getting extra D4 of radiant damage on every attack for a minute, and if you are getting multiple attacks, then that's, you could get 3 or 4 D4 a round of radiant action. For some reason, people want to save that first level slot for smites, which is going to be 2d8, average of 9 damage. When you catch up, if you hit 3 times in a minute, you've caught up with Divine Favor, and really Paladins don't have much else to do with their bonus actions. So, a big favor of Divine Favor. Then, if you look at the other classes, they are challenged to get their bonus actions. Hex and Hunter's Mark can be moved around as a bonus action, but they don't really have a lot of other spell options. So fighters don't either. So if you are looking to maximize your bonus actions, you kind of need to look at feats. Polearm Master is a good one because that gives you a bonus 1d4 attack that you can then attach all your riders to, your smites and your maneuvers and all of that. Heavy Weapon Master, if you make a crit or render someone unconscious, you can get a bonus action attack. That's the full weapon attack. Of course, that doesn't proc as much as the Polearm Master. I kind of like Shield Bash and Tavern Brawler. Tavern Brawler allows you, if you hit, then you get a bonus action to grapple for free. Shield Bash just allows you to attempt to knock someone prone as a bonus action each round, which if you are not dealing with things larger than, if you're medium sized and dealing with larger, smaller creatures almost always, and that's just a free knock prone attempt every turn. And you can build an athletics, you can pump your athletics to make that more successful. That's huge to get the bad guy prone for everybody on your turn is a big deal. There are some magic items that can optimize the bonus action. In particular, I'm thinking of Dancing Sword, which gives you a bonus action attack. If your campaign or DM allows you to pick magic items at some point, or even if your DM lets you research, like using the Hermit's Discovery to go get that, as an adventure, that'd be a great thing to do if you're looking to optimize your bonus actions. If you're a fighter, don't want to take a feat to implement that bonus action, and you can locate a dancing sword, go get that dancing sword. So that's bonus actions. Then we have reactions. And Hellish Rebuke is a good option there for those classes that have it available. The Polearm Master has a nice reaction. If someone enters your threat range, you can hit them with an attack. So if you have a reach weapon, stand 10 feet back, hit, move back. When they come in, you hit, move back. You see that coupled with Sentinel to stop their movement a lot too. Shield is a very good reaction spell that you can, but generally you're not going to be able to count on your reaction to proc. Right, the reaction, as the word implies, is done in reaction to something that happens to you, and you generally can't control that. So, but still, having a good reaction option or two is important if you're building an optimized character. Then we get into I don't know what you call them, free actions, or just extra stuff you can do. And there are things like cutting words is a reaction. That's another good reaction. But if you look at Portent, which allows you to replace any upcoming die roll with your choice of a d20 roll. that you pick from 2 that you begin the day with. Great. It's probably the most. It's a second. You get that as a second level wizard diviner. Probably the most effective second level dip that you can get. It's the reason that whenever I'm building frontline fighters, I will often have a 13 int and go 2 levels of wizard just for portent. You can do things with that are just amazing. If you happen to roll a 20, wait for that crit to use that crit at a particular time. The lucky feat is amazingly powerful, right? You can use the lucky trait. As it's like it doesn't consume an action, but it's a very powerful effect. So the familiar can do a number of things that do not consume any resource on your part. They can use the help action. They can administer potions. They can scout. They can look for. They can use their action to search for an invisible foe that you might be around. Just a number of things that do not consume your action, but that you benefit from their information or from their action. Another thing that I use a great deal that is overlooked by almost every player I play with, and that's the mounted combat rules, right? If you are on a mount, you essentially get you definitely get a free extra movement that doesn't count as your movement, or disengage every turn. Your mount can take 3 actions. It can dash, it can disengage, or it can dodge. It doesn't count against you. It's not your. So if your mount disengages and moves away, you don't provoke. I'm a big fan of using a mount. I have a halfling outrider in Adventure League that does that. And so speaking of Adventure League, it's probably the most popular, widely played campaign at the moment. This is what I tell people over Adventure League. Up until when you cross from 4th to 5th level, until that point, until you reach 5th level, and its final time upon reaching, you can completely remake your character. So I try to start with a 1st level character with a character concept that I want to play with, and then progress it up. However, there's no need to do that if you don't want to. You can, and really from a strategic standpoint, every tier 1 party should have a human fighter with the polearm master using a quarterstaff. With polearm master for the extra attacks. They should have a human fighter with the healer's feet, and they should have a human fighter with crossbow expert and human variant fighters, because if you have those 3, in even at 1st level, are going to blow any tier 1 Adventure League adventure away. Now that may not make for the funnest gaming, right? And I'm not necessarily recommending that. But like I said, this part of this is about optimization. And if you want an optimized party in Adventure League in tier 1 play, you should have those 3 in every tier 1 party. And then no one will ever die. Yeah, just simple. No one will ever die in tier 1 play. Okay, so I hope that you found this useful, and if you have friends or acquaintances who are about to play D&D, I hope that you'll refer them to this for some advice on character creation. I've tried to hit things that are not seen everywhere. I didn't go down didn't break down into why you should play a warlock or blah blah blah. So hopefully this will add something to their conversation and concepts. And as always, I want to thank those who are backing my Kickstarters. So you guys have a great weekend.